Good morning, good afternoon, good evening,
Oh,
wherever
that was
you
me.
are around the world. Don't worry. Well, hello and welcome to the Chicken Box. We, as you heard, are having some technical challenges, but that's what happens on a live show. But we are glad to be here today. If this is your first time on the Chicken Box, you know that this is where we express our opinions and facts about topics of interest to Black people. And so we talk about stereotypes. We hope to dispel myths and
All right, y'all.
all
It's
right.
only one me now.
Okay, Misha, yay. So
Yay!
grab your lunch, grab your breakfast, grab your coffee, um, share this broadcast, and we want you to weigh in on the comments so we know who's watching today. And we're just glad to have you. Our co-host Kevin Peck is traveling. He may jump in. You know how Kevin is. He may jump in between layovers, but he is traveling. But I'm here today. I'm Frances Tony Draper, CEO and publisher of the Afro American newspapers. That you see that MB after my name, that's because I consider myself to be a millennial boomer. And my other co-host who's with us today, who you know well, is
Misha Green, and I am DC and digital editor for the Afro, but I'm always representing, as I say, the boomer millennials, those millennials of us who really have an appreciation for boomer culture, boomer music, uh, boomer everything. And so Dr. Draper and I are twins in that we appreciate one another's generations. And I'm really excited about today's conversation because it's really one that I'm passionate about. I think it's really the basis of the Afro-American newspapers, but I, I think progress in the United States and for Black people. What do you think, Dr. Draper?
say it again, Misha.
Our conversation. I think it's the foundation of the Afro, the foundation
Yes.
of the United States, and the foundation of who we are as Black Americans.
Well, one thing about our conversation, where people have all this debate about generations and labeling people based on when they were born. In the Black community, we grew up with everybody in the house,
Yes.
right? Grandmama
Yes.
was there, and mom and dad were there, and siblings were there, and babies were there, and so while we may find ourselves aligned with some of the things about generations. That's another whole chicken box. But this is your forum. Jewel, we see you. We're glad that you're here. If Kevin was here, he would say, if you're from Baltimore, you know that a chicken box, I'm not going to fill it in. You all put it in the chat. What is a chicken box with one X, right? So if you know what it is, just put it right in the chat. We'll see who gets it right a little bit later. We're going to jump into our conversation this month, January. Oh, January is almost over, Misha. But this month, the Afro highlighted community activists. And for the first time, we talked about 21 queens of the movement, 21 queens of the movement. If you missed that edition, you missed a good one. But we highlighted young women who are very much a part of the movement. That's another stereotype that you break. I know you're going to talk about them later, Misha. The young people aren't as engaged, but they are engaged. And so we're just glad to have her here. Misha, why don't we bring her on and you introduce her to the Chicken Box audience?
Yes, I'm super excited to introduce our guest. She knows that she's a hero of mine in so many ways. Nene Taylor is co-founder and conductor of Harriet's Wildest Dreams. She was born and raised in DC and is, as Harriet's Wildest Dreams calls it, she's a modern day Harriet Tubman, and I have to agree to 100%. She's a conductor for Direct Action, Rapid Response, and Community Aid for Harriet's Wildest Dreams, and a leader in DMV Black Mama Bailout. She's the former Direct Action Core organizer with Black Lives Matter DC. And her focus is to build power collaboratively with marginalized communities while transforming the systems that oppress all Black people. And I should also note that she is an awesome, proud mother. I love watching Nene's page and seeing how she wears like 40,000 different hats of activist slash mama slash leader and mentor for the next generation of leaders slash all around I would say uplifter, empower, and as Harriet's Wildest Dreams puts it so beautifully, conductor. So she's also one of our Afro Activists 2022 Queens of the Movement. And without further ado, welcome to the show, Nene Taylor.
Hey, thank you. Wow, that introduction is like, who's talking about? No, it's an honor to be here. I'm humble, and thank you all for honoring me. It's like, you out here doing the work, and when you get seen, it's like, oh, you see me? Yeah, that's a blessing to be seen. And thank you for having me.
We absolutely see you. And so, Nene, I'm going to ask you, jump right on the box. Tell us more about what you do, how you do it, who's in your network. Harriet's Wildest Dreams. I love it. Tell us a little bit more about that.
Yeah, so Harriet's Wildest Dreams, actually, we only 11-month old, but you would think we've been around forever. And that's because, as Misha had acknowledged that I'm a former co-organizer for Black Lives Matter DC. So when I transitioned out of Black Lives Matter, the work didn't stop, it just grew. It was another vision that was spiritually laid on my heart to do. And so with that being said, I was spiritually led to walk in the steps, the true steps of Harriet Tubman, and walk on top of the railroad tracks, being unapologetically Black. And with that, Harriet's Wildest Dreams was created. And with Harriet's Wildest Dreams, in Black Lives Matter, I'm more so concentrated on police, dismantling the police and the systems of oppression. Harriet's Wildest Dreams, we took it a little further where we wanted to empower our people as we dismantle the systems. So with that, I took what I was doing, my work, which is a mutual aid. We're called the hurt responders, responding to intercommunity violence, state-sanctioned violence, doing direct actions, and answering the needs of just local community needs. Like, I believe that we have everything that we need here and now. So if I can give it to my neighbor, I give it to my neighbor. And that's what I do with the hurt responders. We try to accomplish and give the needs of what we need to survive, these central things we need to survive in the here and now. But with that being said, we also needed legal empowerment because of the incarceration system that keep putting our people behind cages. And so we did the I to Be Free, and it's under I to Be Wells, where we have the I to Be Free pillar, where we do legal empowerment, which is community defense, where we actually help people fight their cases when they're charged with a crime, and we pay the bill for people to get out of jail, because no loved one should be held in a cage because they couldn't pay a bill or don't have the money to pay it. So if it's a Black woman, we go get out, we go set that Black woman free, and we help empower her with her case, right? Because a lot of times the prison, you're not, what is crime? It's what it's made up. Is what you'll be surprised at how many charges they make up for you. And so let me just knock on wood, because everybody we bailed out, we never lost a case. Be clear.
Well, good for you. You know what?
Yes.
Congratulations. Now, you said you've only been in existence for, like, what did you say, 11 months?
Harriet's Wildest Dreams has only been, our birthday is March.
Wow, that's amazing. I'm going to ask you a few minutes to tell us about what it took to just get started. But I have to ask this, Nene. This is we're very informal here. Are you from DC? I hear.
I am DC native, born and raised in the project, Southeast DC. Be clear.
All right. Well, look, you're our second guest in a month that said, I think Southeast DC. Be clear. Yeah. So we are clear. But talk to us a little bit about just how you got started, how you organized. I know you were involved in Black Lives Matter, DC, and then you started this new organization. But what did it take to pull it together?
Honestly, when I transitioned out, the two other co-conductors, they was also Black Lives Matter former organizers. And so when I was transitioning out and they saw the vision, they came along with me. And so they were already doing the work. So
Got you.
it was just a matter of continuing to work. And so, because we have the Ella Baker Shakers who is Ella Emancipators, right? Ella for Ada Baker, and they do political education and campaigns, right? So we got this whole community defense hub where we take care of our people with the mutual aid. We help them legally when they being oppressed by the system, and then we politically educate our people, and we actually bring people into our works who gonna work for us to empower our people. And that's political education, and like the things that people don't know that's happening, like how how Ramada wanted to actually lock up our people. No, tell them that they can't ride the subway if allegedly they was charged with a crime, right? So if you get charged with a crime, like say eating on the subway, they would have had the right to tell you that you can't ride the subway until you finish whatever your case was. And this summer we beat that, and they never was able to bring it into law. But people didn't even know that was happening.
Mm-hmm.
So our Ella Baker Shakers shook that and got that thrown out the case, thrown out. They were never even able to bring it to the table because we knew what they were doing. And our political education pillar actually went to the trustee boards of Walmart and was like, nah, you're not doing that to the Black people in Washington, D.C., because that's our means of transportation.
Wow.
And so that won.
Good. Congratulations on that. Yay. Now, if you're just joining us this afternoon, you have tuned in to the Afro's live show, the Chicken Box, yes, with 2 X's, where we say, don't be a chicken, get on the box. And we want to give a shout out. We did to Jewel already, and then Yolanda Young Johnson is watching. Judge Trommel is watching. Son, I hope I didn't mess up your name. It may be San. Warren Nix. Rachel Humphrey is watching. Brian Gaines is watching. Dorothy Bulware says a chicken box is good eating. Laura Phillips Bird, I saw your name pop up on the screen. Pamela Tucker Williams is watching. Linda Clayton, I'm going to miss somebody. Jonathan Carter's watching. Beverly Freeman is watching. Jennifer Williams West is watching. Jonathan Carter, D. Brown, Darlene Dunbar, Harriet Bartlett, Flora Adong, Oliver Queen, Nikita Dove. You got some fans out there, Nene. Leah Camper, Donald, Callan is watching. Did I say Leah Burton? Peter Simler is watching. Myra Page is watching. Okay, I'm gonna take a break. If I didn't get your name, but I'm gonna do it real quick. Storky Pittman, Michelle Green, Monica Price, Phyllis Lindsay, Freddie Elliott is watching. You know these folk, Nene? Some of them.
Some of them, I know a couple of them.
Well, good. Well, thank you all for watching. Thank you all for watching. We are so glad that you're here. We're missing our co-host, Kevin, the Gen Xer Peck, but it's all good. We call him impeccable. But we have Misha Green here, and we have Nene Taylor from Harriet's Wildest Dreams. I love the title. Misha, you always let us know what's going on the digital streets. What are you hearing?
Well, the digital streets are always busy. They always got something to say. They've been wild, actually, this week in particular about so many different topics. But community activists in particular, we shared a couple week before last. So some of these are bringing it back, as well as a few that I found this week. And I want to note, because one, I didn't put down on this list that Dr. Draper said, and Nene also noted sort of in her answer, is the fact that so many people are not seeing the younger generation of activists. And that's been something that I've been seeing on the digital streets this week is, people sort of discrediting the stuff that younger people are doing. And Nene was there with Gen Z this past year at Howard, and they went in and were cold and putting themselves in danger in all sorts of ways to not only fight for their own freedoms and their own respect and their own dignities, but also that of their peers and Howard students to come. And so anyway, I just wanted to say that. But anyway, that said, I was on the box for a second, but that said, none of these are facts or endorsements or necessarily beliefs of the Afro-American newspapers, solely opinions I've found online, and some of these are direct quotes. Community activists are extremists. Everyone has the ability to be a community activist. You're not an activist if you're not willing to get arrested for your activism. You're not an activist if you're not on the front line. Community activists make the biggest difference in the long run versus national activists. Community activists do it for the love, not for the fame. Community activists want to be politicians. Community activists are often rebels without causes, and community activists make change happen. So there's some extreme things in there, including calling community activists extremists, but there's some things that I would say I have seen and learned about in this past month of us following community activists. But I'd love to hear what Nene has to say about these stereotypes, since she is on the front lines and doing the work out there.
I was laughing like, oh, wow. First, I want to just say community activist is anyone who believe in a fight and they take action. That action doesn't have to be in the streets. If you like writing a letter to your council person, like, you're doing the work, right? You're doing the work. And no, and I totally disagree with a community activist have to be locked up to say that they're community activists, because it's a lane for everybody. And with me, we use a light symbolically, right? It's red, green, yellow. So anytime I'm in the streets and I take people in the streets, and anytime I take people in the streets, trust me, I have my lawyers, my legal observers, my medics, and everybody with me, and everybody know their role where they can stand within this protest, right? Green mean that, hey, look, I'm gonna just stay back. I can't get arrested. They're so respected, and we make sure we keep those people who can't get arrested safe. Yellow is, I'm gonna be right there in the middle. I may get arrested if I have to, right? That means if they in it and they decide they want to like go all the way, then they'll jump in. Like, I can get arrested, right? I'm gonna get arrested. Red is, I'm going out there, have my money on the side, take my name, my number, police jail support on my arm, because I'm going down. Right. And so all three of those activists, or actually people who participate, volunteers that show up with us, they're respected in whatever way they can show up. Right. And reality is, you don't have to be radical to be a community activist. It's a lane for everybody. And if we don't have what you see, build it. Because we need everybody in this fight towards Black people empowerment and liberation. Even the person who answered the phone or sent an email out for me, they important, because they can't get the message out. Somebody running my social media, like, that's important, just because they're not on the streets doesn't don't make them less important than me. You playing a huge role because you're getting the word out to the people. So I wouldn't like take that back. And also, everybody's not even like, I want to shout out to my little young frontliners. They got a new organization, Generation Z. They call it the Real Frontliners. These are like all of the young guys, the majority of them are from DC. They literally teach youth, little young boys, and this is the part that the media don't show, that they meet these, like the class was yesterday, and they actually educate the young guys about policing and building building them their self-esteem, and letting them know that they don't have to be a product of their environment, and also teaching them about what an abolitionist is, because people have a tendency to take that word as a bad word. And so shout out to the little young guys. And so people probably see them as a threat because they out there with their pants down and they may have a joint in their mouth. But these guys, they are doing the work in DC, and they're empowering our youth. And I so love my little young nephews.
I love what you said. I'm gonna get on the box for a moment, just about the stereotypes and what Nene said. Listen, there's room at the table for everybody, and so all these stereotypes sometimes, not sometimes, are out there to keep us back, to keep us from participating, to keep us from working together on something. So I heard Nene say, if you can write an email, if you can put a stamp on a letter, if you can make a phone call, right, for the benefit of the community, then you are a community activist. And some media doesn't say the truth. This media, that's why the black newspapers, the black press is important. Let me say it again. The black owned press is important because can no one tell us really, anyone can't just censor us and say, well, you can't have Nene Taylor on because she's radical, or you can't have Misha Green on because she's this, or can't have the young guys on because of that. We can do, as Kevin would say if he was here, that's why we need our own platform and our own network. But we have a platform called the Afro-American newspapers, and we pray that you would support us. Visit afro.com. Thank you, producer Taylor, for putting that up there. We can't continue the work that we do without your support, right? And it doesn't cost a whole lot, but we need your engagement too. And so I am so happy today. I'm getting ready to get off the box to see all these people on. Shelley Davis, hello. Angeline Hall, Tanya Satterwhite, John Ellison, Lonnie Davis, Ramona Sanders, Brian Carr, Evelyn Ramsey Hopkins, Gary Jackson. These are names I didn't call before. Harvey Leonard and Freddie Elliott, Phyllis Lindsay. And if I did call them before, you just get a double shout out. Monica Price, Michelle Green. We're glad to have you along with everybody else, but everybody has a part, from old to young, for our communities, and we have to be active. We can't just sit back and complain and say, oh, it's just terrible out here, or we need to have this done, or it's not fair that folk are incarcerated. It's not fair that people don't have food. We can work together and get this whole situation turned around. Misha, I am off the box if you want to get back on the box.
Well, I mean, both of you all have said it all. I guess I'll just add that this year, as we've worked on the Community Activist Edition, and this is our second year bringing We're Still Here Community Activist Edition back. And so every year I learn something new. It always roots from MLK and goes, deeper historically prior to MLK, and where we are now. And one thing that I value so much is the fact that Black people sort of inherently, by being Black, if you're about community, you're about being an activist. There's so many stories in the Afro's archives about people who just gave food. I mean, I'm saying just with a J, and I'm so sorry because this is a small J because it's really a big thing, right? Cooking for neighborhoods and cooking for young people, and those who just made a plate for the guy out on the street because he looked hungry. I mean, those are the kinds of stories that the Afro has told since years ago, and I'm not quite sure that our writers knew they were actively telling.
Misha, you breaking up a little bit, just a little bit.
Back.
Yeah, you're breaking up just a little bit. See, we start talking about having our own platform, and this one starts acting up. So you're frozen, but yeah, she's gone out and come back in. And Nene, I love your red, yellow, green analogy, because that means get in where you fit in, right?
That's it. That is our colors that we chose for Harriet's Wildest Dreams. That's actually our logo. It's her tell me with a gun, because Harriet she carried that.
Yes.
Little gun, like if you wasn't gonna stop us, we got to get to where we got to get to, and you get in our way, you may have to be disposed of. Just like,
and I see your Harriet
with disposing this.
Yep, and I see
that's not saying that you're gonna get shot, but but we got to keep moving, and as we keep moving, we're gonna keep fighting for you too, because everybody's not gonna get on the train as we stop at the salons, and that's fine. But guys, know that if you stay at that salon and don't jump that train, we still gonna free you when we free all our people. So that's true. Some people got to get left behind, and it's okay that they get left behind.
No, it was interesting that you say that. Am I back, y'all? Am I kind of back?
You're back. You're back.
But just you saying that, Nene, and sorry for how. Maybe I should keep off my camera because that might be the reason why. But anyway, when I interviewed Cynthia Erivo, I guess that was now 2 or 3 years ago when the movie Harriet came out. And my background is acting, for those who don't know. So like I really geek out when I interview actors. And so I'm asking her sort of all these technical questions. But one of the things we talked about was the love that Harriet Tubman had for her husband, which is sort of shown briefly in the film. And yet she was worth the struggle and the yearning for freedom was worth leaving her man, and that love, that she had even for her beloved, right? And how to get, I mean, Harriet Tubman being married was not a major part of, as we know, of Harriet, nor of her story. But Cynthia Erivo felt the need to sort of bring that out and make that clear, because it was like, even my man, I was willing to leave for the struggle, and just thinking about the people. I mean, she left so many people behind. And as Nene said, that don't mean you're gonna shoot somebody, but you're willing to sacrifice a whole lot. And so one of the many reasons why Harriet continues to amaze me. But you don't humanize this hero, this American hero, in that way. And I was like, yeah, she did leave her boo.
A lot of activists did then and probably still do.
Yes.
If you're just joining us, this is the Afro-American Newspapers weekly show. We call it the Chicken Box with 2 X's. Don't be a chicken, get on the box. A lot of you have checked in today, and so we're glad to have you here. If we didn't call your name, we're still happy to have you. Renee Moore, I see you, and Sheila Noble, and Marcia Holman, and Patricia Rollins, Antonio Brown, and Theophilus Chukuma Okafor. I probably messed that up, but we're glad to have you there. Nene, last week we celebrated Martin Luther King Jr.'s birthday as a national holiday. And so how has community activism changed over the last 50 years? What's your take on that?
We it's actually going backwards. That's why we have to get more people involved, and and people got to realize, like, stop living that dream that he died, like, let us just join hands and can't we all get along. He actually was assassinated because he was fighting for the economics and the betterment of our people, and that's why he was assassinated. He sat at those tables believing the lies that they were telling them, and that's the same thing I do. I sit at the table and listen to you, but when you show me that that's not what you're trying to give my people, you got to flip the table sometimes, right? And so at that time, I think after Martin Luther King tried to be that peaceful person, he realized that was not going to get our people free. And because he was ready to fight for the unions, for the betterment of our people, so that we can receive equality. And that's the reason he was taken out. And I need people to understand that and stop letting white supremacy tell you that what we're doing now is what Martin Luther King wouldn't approve of. That. No, he said a riot is the voices of harmed Black people, not his exact quote, right? Not quoting them, but that's the voice of the silence of us being hurt, right? When we out there. And so he was not against people taking to the streets. Be clear. He went to the streets, and they got water gun with the water shot down by the police and all that same thing. But people don't want to talk about that part of Martin Luther King and our people fighting. And so with that, we continue to fight, we continue to strive, we keep the dream alive, and we still service our people. Like we have the DC Mutual Aid Network. I'm a co-founder of that and the head administrator. And people don't know that was built from the pandemic. So don't tell me what we can do for our people. Right, we actually provide the necessary essentials for all 8 wards, but we only do it for the people who's oppressed. Police, government people, they're not allowed to be in that group because you all have the resources to give this to these people, and you all refuse to do it. But we keep us safe. DC Mutual Aid Network. It's on Facebook. Check it out. DC Mutual Aid Network. All 8 wards. We have a hotline where you can call, and if you need some food, you need some kind of service, you call that hotline, and if we have the capacity to ask your essential need, we getting it to you. And that's real. Like right now, like you just said, a community activist. I had someone donating me 200 medical K95s because now they tell us to use 95s. I couldn't get to it. I just put a little text out to the community. Hey, y'all, I have to get these masks now or we're not going to be able to get them. It was somebody who never done work in the community. like, Nene, I'll go get them. And that was huge. Because
Yeah.
that was 200 masks that we could give to our deliverers, our drivers, to keep them safe as they go and deliver the things to the people in our communities. And so that was huge. And that person played a role in our little world where we keep each other safe.
Yeah, that was huge. And I think we said last week, the other thing people forget about Martin Luther King was he wasn't beloved back when he was doing his activism. You know, the FBI was dogging, the people were hosing him, the folk were burning his house and all, and saying all manner of evil against him. So, you know, we lift him up and, you know, talk about all the great things that he did. He did do great things, but he wasn't embraced even by some black folk. 30% of black people thought that he was going about it the wrong way. You know, you're right, Nene. Our memories are short. Our
Yeah.
memories are
And,
short.
and anytime you fight for empowerment for the people, you're gonna take a hit. For me, during November and December when the white supremacists here, oh, my picture was all over those white supremacists little back pages. But thank God I have allies who like would warn me. And so all the information, I knew what was going to happen because we have people, it's real. So we have people in those places too that keep us safe, right? And they was like, Nene, they got your picture up. And then that's when it came out that we were trying to overthrow the government. And I was trying like, oh, okay, I'm overthrowing the government. And then they really saw who was trying to overthrow the government on January 6th. It wasn't me.
Amen.
I was trying to protect DC. And then you all saw who was trying to overthrow the government. You knew they was trying to overthrow the government. And you gave them a welcome mat and a welcome pass to come on in DC and overthrow this government.
You better say so. Sounds like a modern day underground railroad. You got some folk looking out for you. Nene, I have to ask, we have to ask, how did you get into this activism lane? Take us back. When did it start? What was it like for you?
Well, being raised in the projects in Southeast, east of the river, and I'm an MB. I'm gonna steal your term.
You got it.
And so I didn't choose the movement chose me. I was a little girl where I actually passed out flyers for Willie J. Hardy. My mom was on her campaign, right? I was at Peter Green. When Peter Green got out, I was there with my mom and my dad, right? At the recreation center. My mother was a service, she did service for the community. And so I was that little girl who was there at all those meetings. Like Willie J. Hardy was like my aunt. So I knew politics and knew about Black people oppression when I was like about 7 years old, 8 years old. And so therefore the movement chose me. I had an uncle who drove a truck down south from DC, from North Carolina up to DC, up to New York, where he had a Black woman hanging from a cross during the summertime for the civil rights movements during that time, because he said Black woman was being crucified. I didn't understand why this Black woman was hanging from the cross, but then when I was explained to why she was hanging from that cross. And so this was taught to me as a child. And so as I grew, when Martin Luther King, like when his birthday became a national holiday, I went to the monument and said, free at last, free at last. I could tell all white people to kiss my ass. And that's who I was as a child, right? So, and that's because I was taught that way, right? So I didn't choose the movement chose me, and I just kept the spirit.
All
And that's
right.
real.
And you kept it going. And so you're a mom, your children involved in the movement?
Absolutely. They show up anytime I'm in those streets, especially my daughter. And my son actually goes to Howard University, but I didn't spotlight him because the movement that was happening at Howard was bigger than my son. So, my son played his part. He does photography. So he was the one like taking pictures and stuff to get it out there. And just in the background. And I didn't center him because it was about all the students at Howard University. He's a freshman. His dorm was all screwed up, but I didn't say, hey, look at my son's room. I actually stood in the background and encouraged the youth to speak for themselves, because it's the younger generation that's going to save us and get us free. And so, yeah, they're around, but I keep them in the background because I don't want them to be attacked, because their mama is attacked enough, but they out there.
And one thing I thought was so interesting, Nene, when all that was happening, is that you posted one day that your son knows the value of Howard. And so his first couple weeks when his dorms were all messed up, he didn't even want to say anything because he knew what it took to get there. And I wonder if you can sort of expound upon that, if it is because he sees all you've done and all that he's had to do to get to Howard, or and the brilliance that it is, or really what was his thinking behind that, and what made him finally take those pictures that sort of helped start the movement.
Yeah, so my son knew that I was a part of the last Howard shutdown. He knew that I helped the young kids back then, the young students back then. And so when it was going on and his room was messed up, he was like, "Ma, I didn't want you to shut my school down." Because if he would have told me before Anaya told me, I would have shut Howard down. But so when Anaya came and told me she wanted to she wanted to shut Howard down and bring awareness because the administration won't listen to her. I thought it wasn't all together, but hey, I'm here to support my younger generation. And so I was like where you need me to be? And so once Anaya made noise about it, he was like, yeah, my room is messed up. I just didn't want to tell you. And I felt bad because I felt like I didn't keep my son safe, right? But I was speaking to them in the background, and like the administrators, they respect me because they know who I am. And it's unfortunate, and I don't like privileges. Like now my son, he was one of the ones able to be moved out of his dorm. And like yesterday, he literally told me he didn't have internet. I made one email. He said, he texted me today and said, I got my hotspot, but it should be like that for all students and not me. You know what I mean? I want that for all students. Don't do it because you think I'm gonna come and shut down Howard. Do it because they deserve this and we pay enough money. Like Howard is $50,000 a year. So whatever resources I have, I'm helping all the students at Howard. If a mother reach out to me, I'm helping their child too. So it hurt me to find out. And my son actually had to go to hospital. And I was really hurt because I didn't feel like I kept my son safe. But he also didn't want his mother to come shut down Howard. And so it was a price we had to pay.
Wow. Thank you for sharing that, Nene. You are active, active. And I love what you said about it's not just about my child. It's about everybody's child or everybody's student or everybody's, right to have a decent
The village.
Well,
The
we
village
did a lot of coverage of that.
child.
It is a village. About how many folk are in the village? I know it expands all the time, but about how many people can you count on when you have a call to action?
Oh, I just want to be transparent. Nobody can come to DC, no national organization, without checking in with me. Period.
I hear you.
So there you have it.
They
Just a phone call.
Boom.
And I think that they know that here in DC. So if I need national help, I could call my sisters that's national, that's well known. I respect them, their work, what they do and how they do it, and they respect me. And they know DC's not a state. So don't come here causing more harm to my city. Because when you leave, I'm here and I got to clean up what you do. So I'm glad that they respect me enough to know that if you're going to come here and do this, let me know what you're doing, because I don't want you to come here and cause, like, I got to clean up something, or you make it harder for us to fight here in DC. So in return of that, if I make a phone call and I say, hey, look, I need help. The Movement for Black Lives, we are co-organized with the Movement for Black Lives. We show up for each other, right? So if I call the Movement for Black Lives, we got a major thing going on, they here. They coming. I'm like, I can't do this with my local organizers. I need y'all to come. And they were actually financed for people from different states. Like we just went to Minneapolis for the defund police was on a bill. They paid for over 100 of us to go there to campaign and go let people know what defund police is and what that bill truly is on the ballot, because there was misinformation as if, we was like trying to make the police go away today, but not us, but Minneapolis. So they paid for Her Is Dreams, which we took 11 people down there right from DC, and we campaigned and knocked on doors to try to get Minneapolis to pass yes to number 2, which was reinvesting money into the communities and divesting from the police. So we look out for each other nationally.
Good. It's all about organizing. So let me ask you this, Nene, we're almost out of time, and Misha, I want you to give us our Afro fact. How do people keep up with you? I mean, you mentioned, I think, your website. I know there's a story in this week's, Afro about Harriet's wildest dreams.
Yep, it's the front of the DC section.
Front of the DC section.
Y'all looking all beautiful.
You didn't tell me.
Look, I'm sorry. Look, this is live television. Nene is finding out for the first time.
Right. I saw it last night. It's not yet up on afro.com because I just checked, but it will be. But subscribers are going to have it and you will have it. You will have it as well.
Yes, for
You will,
sure.
you will
We'll
have
make
Yeah,
it.
so
sure
you
the
can
whole
follow us at harrietsdreams.org. That's a S under behind Harriet's and an S under S behind dreams.org. And you can follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Harriet's Dreams and Harriet's Wildest Dreams on Facebook. And also, y'all sign up for our court watch. We just started a court watch where we actually watch the people who actually send us to jail, the prosecutors, the judges, and the police and the courts, and we taking data to see if they actually treating our people right, because the prisons are filled with our people, and we're fighting back so that we can stop them from doing injustice, because injustice happen in empty courtrooms, but we in those courtrooms now. So not only are we in the streets, we in the courtrooms, and it takes nothing to sign up because you can watch it online. So there you go. You don't even have to be.
So how do we sign up for Court Watch?
If you go to herdsdreams.com, you're gonna see herdsdreams.com. I mean
.org.
.org. You're gonna see .org. You're gonna see / join court watch. herdsdreams.org / join court watch. And that's just, you watch the courts, and you ain't even got to watch it all day. It's on a Saturday morning. If you give us an hour of your time just to watch a case, right? Because it's when people go in front of the judge to be released from jail, and you just write down what happened, what transpired at that time, and that's data that we are collecting to hold our people accountable, how we being treated in the courtrooms.
Okay,
so it's easy.
Right, it is. So is the Court Watch, is it streamed on Facebook?
No, we watch it on. It's a court link that we go into the courts, right? Because the courts are closed. When the courts are open right now, they only let 12 people. We'll go into the courts every now and then, but only because of COVID, they let 12 people in. But we all can watch it online, and it just say Court Watch DC, and they know we see them as they judge our people when they come in front of the judge. Right. Yeah, and we have people to take notes and say what judge it was prosecuted, what was said. And that way we can have our people look into it if that person was treated unjust during his time he went in front of the judge, or something that the prosecutor did, to get that case thrown out. So we in the courtrooms and we in the streets.
Amen. I was asking because if it was on social, we could stream it to the Afros page, and we've got nearly.
Well, no, you get court watch training. We actually train you how to watch the courts, because people don't know what to look for. So we actually do. It's a training tonight, so you can join our training tonight.
If we want to stream it, I want to stream it on our page.
Oh, no, you can't stream. That's the government. You can't stream the government.
Yeah, we could try.
We're going into the government website, right?
It'd be a good idea, though. Everybody needs to see it. It's public. It's public.
They should, because injustice happens in empty courtrooms. It does. That's why our people get locked up, and we fill the jails, and we get them. That's how they make money off of us. But we're gonna change that too.
For sure. No, and I mean, definitely, though, Nene, I would love to continue the conversation about the court watch and how the Afro can be involved, because you all tracking that. I mean, some of those stories can be right on our page. You know what I mean? Bring us having, a Harriet's Wildest Dreams court watcher, if you will, freelancer. I think it really makes a difference. And again, as you said, a lot of injustice happens in the courtroom. I've seen it personally, and just been, completely flabbergasted that a judge has said and done the things that they've done when people are simply trying to do certain things and go back and forth to feed their families. So, I definitely think this is great that you are doing.
Yeah, and I want to name that we just don't watch the court. We help that person.
Yes.
Because we connect with that person, and and that's where the legal defense come in, where we help them fight their case, right? And get as less time, or get that case as, because some people just get caught up in situations, and a cage is not the answer, So we actually help the people once they get charged with something. We do community defense, which is called participatory defense, and we help them with their case to win their case.
Okay.
Amazing. Superheroes, really doing the work that needs to be done every day. And unfortunately, we don't know that there are people out here making the difference in that way. So again, just thank you, Nene, for all you do.
All righty. We're almost out of time. We're going to do a couple of things. I know that Misha has an Afro fact. Nene, we're our producers up on your site, and we're trying to find the link for the court watch so we can put that in the chat. So we're on the site. We're on the site, but I know she's trying. So I don't know that she was able to find it yet. I see organizing
If
action.
if she go to our Hers Dreams on Instagram and go to our link tree, it's right there.
It's on the link tree. Okay.
It's on our link tree.
Okay.
On IG. Okay. It's in our bio.
Okay. All right. That's great. Thank you again to everybody who's watching.
Yeah.
Today I see that Dorothy Willis is watching and Charles Simmons is watching. Catherine Dotson, I haven't called your name yet. Liz Bullard is watching. Francine Macon James Jones. Carnell Corbett is watching. IEB Man Carter is watching. Letitia Allen. Z-Day Parker. JJ McQueen. Islita Kaya. Chuck Gardner. Darlene Taliaferro. Yolanda Harris. Sherry Fullman Taylor. Donald Whitley. Ernest Deloney. Janice Jacobs, Dido, Carl Jones. Wow, I think I got everybody, but I may not have, but we are glad that you joined us on Chicken BOXX. All right, Misha, two things. Give us this week's Afro Fact, and if you want to get on the box on community activism, do that, and then I'm going to kick it to Nene for final remarks, and then it'll be a wrap. So,
all righty. Well, this week's Afro Fact is inspired by the January 30th, 1965 edition. And the headline read, Dick Gregory beats Uncle Sam. Comedian batters down color bars. And it was about Dick Gregory beating Uncle Sam in efforts to desegregate 15 die-hard segregated facilities in Tuscaloosa, Alabama. And it was successful. According to the article, the race barriers were broken down without incident. And so we know Dick Gregory has always been a beloved activist, and he's a legend in so many different ways, not only for his work as a comedian, but also in the struggle. And so I definitely thought this was super appropriate for the Chicken BOXX, and it's the fact that it happened in a time that's very close to where we are all those years ago. And so, yeah, that's this week's Afro Fact. And I guess let me hop on the box about community activism. You know, I can't really go after Dick Gregory. But what I will say, and Dick Gregory was so active here in DC, and, you know, I got to see him in action a couple times throughout my life and being from this area. And I know a lot of people who he inspired. And one thing that I'll say about him is that he really helped people understand, again, that it's the smallest things that make the biggest difference. You know, I mean, this man was taking the extreme routes, right? He was doing the fasts and doing the on the front lines for sure, and making a huge difference. But he saw the hairdresser as a community activist, and he saw the grandmother who decided to feed kids in the neighborhood as a community activist, and the teacher and the journalist. And so all of us, I just really hope, again, what I was saying when I was breaking up earlier on the box is that inherently, I think the Black experience, if you know community, you do know activism, because you know, as Lisa Brown, our photographer, talked about a couple weeks ago, you know neighborhood, you know what it is, looking out for one another. And so continuing to keep a pulse on your community really does start on your street and expand. And it's not just because it affects you, but the things that are important, which should be everything and everyone, and equity. What is more important than equity? And so with that said, I am off the box.
Okay, thank you. I really love this conversation. As a person who, as a young person, Nene, had rocks thrown at me. I think I may have been 5, but my parents did like you did, you know, threw us all in the car when the beach was integrated. There we were. And I remember even to this day, people throwing rocks and saying things, and then look, we going right back out there a couple weeks later and have it happen. So it does start young. It starts young. Nene Taylor, we have really appreciated your being on, and all of our guests on the show, and those who are watching. Thank you so much for joining us on the Chicken BOXX. If you would text Afro to 410-936 5002. We'll leave that there for a couple of minutes. We'll send you late breaking news and other things and alerts about the Chicken BOXX. And we promise we won't overwhelm your text inbox, well, any more than it's probably already overwhelmed. Nene, you get the last word. You are on the box.
Yeah, I just want like emphasize what like uplift what Mika said, and I just want y'all to know we're not free until we all are free. So I encourage you to get involved. Like you all see, I'm not. You may just see me in the street and on the news, but white media have a tendency to show me like as a violent person. But no, we out here doing the work to empower and liberate our people. So like visit harriet'sdreams.org, and if we're not your political home, find a political home and get involved. And like I said, if you send an email, you doing the work. So get involved, and it's some activism in all of us, I say.
All right. Thank you so much. Again, thank you, everyone. See you next week. And don't be a chicken. This is community activism as well. Don't be a chicken. Get on the box. You see something, say something, but more importantly, do something. All right. See you again next week. Take care.